Is there a universal male and female nature?
Ooh, that's a really complex question. I think there are universal male and female traits, but I don't know if there's a very consistent male and female nature.
Yes, I personally feel like men are meant to be kind of the protector and kind of take control of the relationship, whereas women are to be the nurturers and the ones on the receiving end of the protecting.
Do you think boys are better suited to learn about female nature, specifically how to attract women, from mothers or fathers?
Mothers.
Why?
Because I had a brother, he was 19 years older than me, and we had 3 girls in the family, plus our mom, plus our dad, and because of that, he actually did really well in his marriage because we kind of taught him how to treat women.
From fathers, probably. I feel like you really take after the way your father treats women and the type of women that he gets and is with. I feel like a son would definitely take some pointers from that.
Do you think that the rise of single moms in any way contributes to the lack of respectable men?
Absolutely, yes. There's men just these days don't really know how to act, I feel like, and a lot of the societal values behind men and what their participation looks like in a relationship is much different than how it was, say, in the 50s when divorce rates were much lower. Well, when any divorce was able to happen.
Would you trust a single mom to teach a man how to be a man?
Yes.
Would you trust a single mom to teach her daughter how to choose the right man?
Yes.
Wouldn't she not be a single mom if she chose the right man?
We all make mistakes and hopefully learn from them. And B, sometimes the best way to teach your children is to not do what you did.
Single mothers, a lot of times, I don't want to say all the time, but I would probably imagine to say about 80% of the time, have some sort of vendetta or bitterness towards men because obviously they were left. So it's not necessarily I feel for them, right? I feel bad for them. They are struggling. They are trying to come to terms with the fact that they have been placed with the burden of raising a child on their own, which is no small feat.
Do you believe that fathers keep sons out of jail and daughters off the pole?
Oh yes, most certainly. They do play a strong role in the male life, and for the daughter, yes, because your first love is your father for a female.
Let's be real, most girls who are on the pole are due to daddy issues.
Unfortunately, I have a brother who is in jail, and my father passed away once again, so my family went through a lot of heartache, but I can only imagine that if my father was around, my brother didn't have boundaries, and men are there to place boundaries with other men, or else kids just kind of run wild and they do things, and especially men, they become like these untamed animals, right? They become these kind of uncivilized monkeys. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be crass about that, but men teach boundaries. And when it comes to a woman, the only reason why I did not get on OnlyFans and the only reason why I was not a stripper was because I have 4 brothers who would have murdered me if that was the route that I took. I think that there is a healthy amount of shame when men are telling you, keep your clothes on, have some self-respect. But for me, if I didn't have that and I lost my dad at such a young age, then you're constantly seeking that male validation. You're constantly seeking that love from any man who will give it to you because you feel like there's this like gaping size hole of fatherly figure missing from your heart. So a lot of these OnlyFans models, as much as I do have compassion for them because I understand where they're coming from, but I also know the cause of why they're doing what they're doing. And if you look at any type of sex work, typically you will find the absence of a father figure or the absence of a male role model.
Do you believe that women are naturally feminine or naturally masculine?
Naturally feminine.
I believe that being feminine is being perfectly comfortable with yourself and choosing to do the things that you love, whether they're considered masculine or feminine.
If a female nature exists and it's not social conditioning, why are so many people complaining about women today lacking femininity?
I think typically that's due to a very narrow definition of what femininity actually is.
I feel like it's because women are being taught these days to be masculine or to be both. And I feel like it's just not in women's nature to, I mean, a good balance of femininity and masculinity is great, but when the world is trying to have women become masculine after being feminine for thousands of years and having that being their primal instinct, I think it's just going to end badly.
Unfortunately, if you blame society, then you're going to have to blame a lot of men for putting women in positions where we do have to work and where the government has supported women to have more children without men. The government has supported women to go and graduate from college, to take on a bunch of debt, to get degrees that we really don't need. Social conditioning would lead us to believe that it's really not a woman's fault. And I think right now, the temperature with men, they feel so unappreciated. They feel so backed up into a corner. They feel so betrayed by women that they don't want to give women any grace for where they're at. And that's okay. I understand where they're at. We are at a tipping point in our society, and men need to get angry for something to change. So I'm kind of happy that they're there.
If women are all hardwired to want the highest value man, why would they ever cheat on their rich husband to be with a pool boy?
Because the rich husband did not give them the attention and love that they craved.
Men know that they can get a 10. They know that they can get a woman who is gorgeous, hot, every guy wants her, but they know what that comes with, which is bitchy, entitled, hot. Every guy wants her. She's typically doesn't take accountability. So there's a crazy hot matrix for guys. Okay. With women, we have we can go after the pool boy, but if all the other women are going after him, his likelihood of cheating is going to be probably really high. So we might choose someone who is a little bit more comfortable for us. The relationship is fine. It's a great relationship. It's a decent relationship. But then after being married for 20, 15, however many years, she's raised the kids. She has done her due. She's looking for some excitement. And the man in her life and the marriage has kind of given up a little bit. Women are actually a lot dirtier than men think. But that doesn't mean that they're going to act on it. They just want these fantasies ignited within their relationship, and they want the man to provide the spontaneity and the novelty, and so that's why I think women will give up and go towards the pool boy, because they are hypergamous in nature, but they also crave, the creature comforts of a man that's going to provide a safe life for them until they get bored.
Well, what's considered more high value, being rich or being in shape?
That may be accurate. It depends on what underlying philosophies are going along with it. So sometimes being in shape is vain. Sometimes being in shape is for health. Sometimes being wealthy is greedy. Sometimes being wealthy is because you're a hard worker. So I don't think it's the outcome as much as the motivation.
Good-looking guys who are dumb as rocks, who provide no emotional or intellectual stimulation for a woman, unfortunately, that's not very high value. It's a hard place to be. I mean, being rich as well. If you're a workaholic and you're never home with your kids and you're gone all the time, women don't necessarily want that either. So they really want a combination of someone who is emotionally available. I know I say that all the time, and women say that all the time. Guys are like, what does that mean? They want your presence. They would much rather you making $80,000 a year and be home and be there and be like involved in the relationship than just be rich and gone or hot and dumb.
Can you explain the concept of Hopeflation?
What the fuck does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Okay, for prime example, my grandma, probably your grandma, wholesome women.
they were good value. They cooked, they cleaned, they stayed down. They were good in-house wives. You had better back then. Now you get less from a female, and they're less of a person, and they do way less, but they expect way more. That's Hopeflation.
Why do modern men have to work 5 times harder than their grandfathers did for women 20 times worse than what their grandmothers were?
Because a lot of times the men made the women worse. And though their grandfathers cherished their women more and let them be women.
We have empowered women so much to believe that they are queens and that they don't have to work for a relationship and or a man. The dating apps have created a false sense of options for women. Women are getting attention left and right on different social media platforms. You had options of 3-mile radius of people that you were dating 20, 30, even 40 years ago. I mean, the iPhone and technology has changed everything for women, especially good-looking women. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, the women are just really taking advantage of the opportunities that they have to get that attention. And if men had that opportunity, I think that they would probably take it as well. So men have to stop giving that attention because they're thirsty or whatever. And women wouldn't have any place to sell that Hopeflation or sell their wholeness if men weren't buying. So, we need to kind of both take responsibility on that.
How can there be hardworking tomboy farm girls and high-maintenance princess model types, but then we're told that females have a nature that make them only one way and not the other?
Because society has formed them to be a certain way, I feel like.
It just depends on how you are raised. Like I said, I was raised more like countryside girl, like getting dirty as in like mowing the lawn, doing oil car changes, having a single mother. So I would have to do a lot of manly stuff, I guess.
If you are on a farm and your mother is milking cows and you don't have any technology, that's all you see, what else are you going to compare it to? The women who are moving to the cities, who have all of these different stimulus coming at them, giving them attention, or going to the clubs, or becoming more masculine in general, or just experiencing things that are different than being on a farm, then obviously at that point, forget the nature, like the nurture takes over.
To me, it's the nature versus nurture, that kind of argument. I think certain things are instilled in women and they are a certain way by nature. But I also think that the environment also creates certain types of things. Like if you take a farm girl who grew up with her daddy and her daddy's teaching her certain things, whatever, and she's going to be rough and tumble like that, but she'll still have certain attributes that all women have. And then vice versa for a woman that grew up in a city who may not had the father around, she'll just go to more to what the streets tell her to do or what other women like put onto her.
Let's say you have a mother who was single mother and doesn't want you to have the same fate that she did, and that wants you to continue to be independent and not be in a position where she was put in, then of course that's going to have an influence on the way that a daughter perceives her role and her feminine nature in life. I mean, again, if we are being raised by single mothers who struggled, they didn't want the same fate for us. So we're being raised, our nature might be to stay home, but our mothers did that and the consequences were great for them. So we were raised by a generation of women who the men left, and now we are dealing with the consequences.
Hypergamy is a term that means marrying up to a person of higher status.
Okay.
Which gender do you think is more likely to practice hypergamy, men or women?
Women.
Why is that?
We want to be pampered.
Women is like always trying to level up to the best option. Like, you feel me? A guy could really like date a broke girl. A girl can't date no broke guy because they feel like they're entitled to them having to provide for them always without them having to even know them nowadays. You feel me? I heard somebody try to tell me to pay them to talk to them.
I think there's different forms of marrying up. So we all know the person who married the more attractive person, or the person with more money, the person with a better job, the person with intelligence. I think anyone who actually wants to be better wants to surround themselves with other people who are better. And so it can actually be a symbol of that individual's own drive.
Do you believe that hypergamy, also known as marrying up, is learned or natural behavior?
I feel like it's definitely learned behavior.
Do you think the Cinderella story or romantic comedies have had any influence?
Definitely.
Isn't Cinderella the original gold digger story?
Kind of. I feel like it's more of like an original love story.
You know, Cinderella is a Disney story for a reason. That is a very, very rare circumstance where a maid gets taken up by a prince. That didn't happen. So women, kind of had to take what they could get for their survival, based off of just based off of the options that were available to them.
Isn't Cinderella the original gold digger story?
Sure. I guess you could say that. Yeah, I would like to thank you for tearing down my Disney princess, but that's okay.
No, Cinderella actually brought a lot to the table. Cinderella was from a noble family. She was beautiful. She was a hard worker. She actually had a lot to contribute. So that was an example of looking at somebody purely based off of their income or assumed social status, not what they actually had to bring to the relationship.
If women have inherent value and men have to create their value, why are we always asking women what they bring to the table?
That's a good question.
All people have inherent value, and a lot of the time the question of what do you bring to the table is to downplay your contributions.
I think men feel slighted that women don't bring anything to the table. They think that just showing up. I mean, there's this trend now on the TikTok where women are calculating like how much product they put on their face compared to the amount that the date costs. And I think that's ludicrous. Nobody's telling you to put on a $400 product on your face. Nobody's telling you to go to Sephora and spend $800 in a month. So again, I think there's this misbalance of what women used to do and what women think that men value. I think a man would be very happy going to McDonald's and having a woman show up without makeup, and they just want to have good conversation. They just want to have a great date. So I think if women were a little bit more humble and were a little bit more respectable, I guess nowadays, like men wouldn't be asking that question. But I think men understand that they do have to earn their value and women don't right now. So there is really no consequence. I don't know how to end this question.
Why did women of the past care less about money when they were more dependent on a man for money?
Everything was cheaper back then, and it was no cameras, and everybody was naturally loving each other and talking to each other and walking to each other. There's no social media. It was none of that.
I don't think it's accurate to say that women cared less for money. If that was the fact, you wouldn't have seen noble marriages being contracted. You wouldn't have seen dowries being in the picture. So I don't believe that there's actually any historical premise that women historically chose finances in a way that they don't now.
What is the difference between a hypergamous woman and a gold digger?
I feel like that's the same thing because they both want someone who is higher in wealth and higher in higher class and all that. Like, obviously, don't get me wrong, who doesn't want to be up there, but it takes time, and it takes basically time, And if you can't find someone that's like that, it's fine. Like, you can be your own person and get to that level, but you have to work hard.
Which of the following behavior is more natural, hypergamy or monogamy?
If we look just purely based on history, it would be hypergamy.
Why is that?
Because if you look in the historical context, marriages weren't typically for love, and so why wouldn't they step outside of the boundaries of that marriage when they were doing it purely for an advantageous political or financial decision?
If women are hypergamous by nature, why do they stay loyal to their husbands throughout history as opposed to the promiscuous women we see today?
I think because of the emotional attachment they probably have for that person.
You had to rely on a man to take care of you, literally, and your children. So if you were, hoe, that wouldn't go well. Your children would die. Your the risks were so much greater. The consequences are just not as great anymore for everyone, for better or for worse. That's just how it is. I think, unfortunately, that's what happens when you climb up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, the more choice, the more first world problems that you're going to have, and that is, you know, options. And if women can support themselves, there's not as much consequence, and men and women can cheat.
Is hypergamy the equivalent of men never satisfied with only one woman?
Yes, because we get a thrill out the chase, and once we get what we want, we looking for the next prey, as you can say.
Is a woman wanting the bigger, better deal the equivalent of men wanting the younger, hotter chick?
Yes, because at the end of the day, we want something to make us feel young, and women want something to make them feel secure. So it go hands in hand.
If men and women can both be hypergamous, why does society punish men more for pursuing their hypergamy?
Because we got people like R. Kelly and Bill Cosby out here, you know, doing what they doing and making it bad for men like us who are gentlemen.
You literally are just using men for a woman's looks, which again, I mean, is shallow in nature. You have to have some sort of foundation. And there are some men that really don't care about a woman's intelligence, or really don't care about what women have to say. They just want a beautiful woman to sit next to. And then there are women who do not care about a man giving them emotionally or being there for them. They just want their money. So I think that you have to really ask yourself what you have in common with someone that is 20 or 30 years difference, age difference. I know it works in some instances, but you know, you're talking about generations here. And I think it's kind of gross on either side. And I think that society kind of punishes equally as like the sugar daddy and the gold digger, right? Isn't that what it is?
If we're told that women have a female nature and lack accountability, why are they given custody over men, given jobs over men, political positions over men, or any authority whatsoever?
You know, I will agree with you that, especially when you look at things like family court, the modern political left, and sort of the identity politics they play, they're trying to curtail to what were considered historically disadvantaged groups as a means of winning votes and political power. It's not right, and I don't think they should do that, but I think that's why they do it. And I think the solution, as opposed to like bashing women, being racist or whatever, is to actually just be authentically good people and show the country a better path.
Are women the problem, or are the people influencing women the problem?
Well, I would say that it's probably a little bit of both. And the reason being is women that are in power, the Doja Cats of the world, the Beyoncés, the, you know, name whoever you want to name that has some sort of influence, they are setting the example for our young women. And I know as much as everyone hates Taylor Swift, she's as classy as you can get at this point versus, you know, a Doja Cat or somebody else who is parading around in, you know, half naked clothes, and the Kylie Jenners of the world and the Kim Kardashians who are leading with plastic surgery. We, as an elder woman, right, I take responsibility for sharing what it means to be a lady to women who don't necessarily have as much experience or don't necessarily know as much. So I think there's a healthy amount of shame, personally, that I think other women need to take responsibility for and tell women to go and put their clothes back on. We live in a world where there is a lack of consequence for anything. So the consequences aren't necessarily felt, but that's why you have men and women who are older, who are more mature, who have gone through life a little bit and who can impart their wisdom. But unfortunately, the young people think that they can do it all themselves right now. So they're just like, you know, they're just freewheeling and, you know, calling each other by their effing pronouns and whatever else they want to call them. And I think it's kind of ridiculous. We never would have had that in my elder millennial time.
Why do we talk about female nature if men's issues are mostly with modern Western women?
Because they don't know any better.
Were women like this in the past, and are women like this overseas?
Women overseas are taught to do what they are told to do. Women of the West are taught to do what they feel.
That's why niggas like going to different places, different countries, because the women there, they're more submissive, more caring, more actually willing to listen to you rather than out here.
So is it female nature or female nurture?
No, I would say the culture's been influenced 100%. And I would say it begins with the 1960s sex revolution and Gloria Steinem and all those sorts of things. I would say that, you know, the original feminist characters and the industry and Larry Flint and the Hustlers and I'd say we've had infiltration within the country of degenerate forces that have just ripped our culture apart, and the problem has just gotten worse.
Isn't saying that women are children or it's female nature just another excuse to not hold women accountable?
Most definitely, friend. Most definitely.
So then why is the manosphere always telling men to just accept female nature?
Bad teaching. That's what that is. That's just bad teaching.
That is a bit ironic, isn't it? If a lot of the manosphere or the male circles say that it's just female nature, you know, just accept it. Well, then isn't it, you know, women are a little bit more neurotic in nature, so they're less able to really see their behaviors. They're more likely to bring up arguments within a relationship as well. So I think that there is a certain level of acceptance that men need to have when it comes to, okay, maybe I'm not necessarily going to get as much accountability from women. Women are not taught like men are, especially because you guys are under the threat of physical violence. Like other men, when you are in sports and when you are together, and you're just going to get your ass kicked if you're not accountable or if you're a douche. That's what men do. Women talk behind each other's back. It's female nature, right? Women, this goes back to Jordan Peterson. Women are bullies. They're mean girls. They're the ones that kind of just swarm the hives and make up the tea. So yeah, it's like you either accept that women are necessarily just more neurotic in nature, and well, even the Gottmans who came up with the freaking Love Lab, who studied women, said that 68% of the time women are bringing up problems in a relationship. So yeah, I think sorry guys, we're just a bunch of bitches.